Chapter 99. Not worth the gamble. Wesley shook his head. No, I love her very much. I just often feel like I can't breathe. From a psychological perspective, people who lacked love in their childhood easily became anxious and insecure in relationships because they lacked a sense of security. He'd tried to understand Ava and worked hard to give her a sense of security, but Ava was like a bottomless pit. No matter what he did, it never seemed to be enough. Now when they met, he always worried whether he'd done something wrong that would make Ava suspicious again. Today, Ava had asked if he wanted to have dinner together after work. He'd said he had to work late. Wesley never imagined that one day he'd lie like this to the person he loved. This was the very behavior he used to despise most. Andy raised an eyebrow, remembering the location sharing he'd seen on Wesley's phone before. He ventured cautiously. Too clingy? Very controlling? Wesley took another drink. She's not that clingy, but she's constantly insecure. I've tried many methods, and nothing works. Unless he was willing to live under Ava's surveillance every moment. Only by knowing what he was doing every second would Ava barely trust him. But this wasn't the life he wanted. He hoped that even while dating, two people could still be themselves, have their own space, and trust and respect each other. Like his parents, always giving each other complete trust. Though he'd always had good relationships with women, he wasn't someone without boundaries. Each time Ava doubted him, it made him sad. He knew she was just insecure because of her family situation, and he felt sorry that her parents had favored her sister over her. But perhaps people who hadn't experienced something really couldn't empathize. As it happened again and again, he grew tired. He wanted to escape. It wasn't that he hadn't tried to compromise, but just thinking about someone monitoring him every day made him uncomfortable all over. 2 months had passed since he discovered Ava was monitoring him. His patience seemed to have reached its limit. If you really can't make it work, just break up. You look miserable dating her. It's not worth putting yourself through this for a girl. Nathan Ning shrugged. You guys grew up in different environments. What you want is completely different. He'd once dated a girlfriend who was really clingy and insecure, also because of family issues. He could understand Wesley's dilemma. People like them who came from happy families really couldn't empathize. He'd really liked her too back then, but in the end, he still chose to break up for this reason. I thought someone like Ava, practically worshipped by everyone as a goddess, wouldn't have these issues. Turns out when girls are in love, they're all the same. Andy suddenly remembered something. He slapped his thigh hard. I heard something before, but you guys were in your honeymoon phase, so I didn't mention it. Wesley and Nathan both looked at him. Andy shook his head and let out a long sigh. When Ava was dating Adrian Pierce, she was super clingy. I heard they were practically inseparable. Apparently, she didn't even let Adrian talk to other girls casually. Nathan's mouth fell open. Really? He couldn't imagine Adrian Pierce listening to a woman. Andy pursed his lips and raised an eyebrow. I said I heard about it. How would I know if it's true or not? Nathan might as well not have said anything. After parting with Ju Shun, Ava drove to Hale Group. She parked her car downstairs and took out her phone to message Wesley. Off work yet? Let's have dinner together tonight. The reply came back in less than 3 seconds, but the content made Ava stare blankly. I can't tonight. I have to go on a business trip. We'll have dinner together when I get back. Ava's fingertip tapped on the words business trip. A tear slid down from the corner of her eye. She looked in the rearview mirror at the familiar figure gradually getting smaller in the distance. Finally, getting into Andy's car. Ava suddenly felt it was all rather pointless. Before this, she'd dated 4 boyfriends, and not a single one had ever refused when she took the initiative to ask them out. Sure enough, not worth the gamble. Ava raised her hand to wipe away the tear at the corner of her eye and started the car expressionlessly. She hadn't driven far when Lena called. She pressed answer and turned on speakerphone. Ava, I just got back to the country. Want to have dinner together tonight? I'll introduce you guys to my boyfriend. Bring Wesley along too. Lena's cheerful voice came through the phone. Ava looked up at the traffic light ahead. It was red. She stopped the car. Send me the address. I'll text you on WeChat. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. If you're late, I'll make Wesley drink a whole bottle of liquor as punishment. He's not coming. Why not? Lena pouted, expressing her dissatisfaction. The light ahead turned green. Ava's voice was very light. We broke up. Before Lena could recover from her shock, Ava had already hung up. "Jason, is she okay?" Wesley rushed to the hospital, breathing heavily as he looked at his college classmate in front of him. Jason Yuan shook his head. "Just some minor scrapes. She's not really hurt, just shaken up. Before you arrived, we already did a full-body examination. There's nothing wrong at all. You don't need to worry." "That's good." Looking at Ava still unconscious on the hospital bed, Wesley breathed a sigh of relief. He'd just arrived at the restaurant with Andy and the others when he got a call from Jason, saying Ava had been in a car accident. He was scared out of his mind and drove straight to the hospital. On the way, he kept thinking about the message Ava had sent him not long ago. Because one of his projects had run into some problems, he didn't want to see Ava for the time being. So, he told her he was going on a business trip. He never expected that, less than an hour later, Ava would be in a car accident. "Mom, what are you guys doing here?" Wesley had barely finished speaking when he saw his mother and sister walking in through the hospital room door. And his older brother, too. "Stella wasn't feeling well, so we brought her to see a doctor. We just heard from the head nurse that Ava was in a car accident, so we came to check on her," Mrs. Hale explained. She looked at the person on the bed and asked Jason with concern, "Ava's okay, right?" Jason shook his head, saying she was fine. However, Jason's expression became slightly more serious. He didn't know if Wesley knew about this. He'd only heard Wesley mention before that Ava was child-free. But he hadn't expected that the reason she was child-free was because of this. "However, what?" "Jason, can you please not pause like that? It's really bad for my heart." Stella Hale held onto Maxwell Hale's arm, pouting with displeasure. "You should all be okay with Miss Hart being child-free, right?" Jason probed cautiously. Wesley nodded. The faces of Mrs. Hale, Maxwell Hale, and Stella Hale froze simultaneously.